when the American government was doing their stimulus, they could just put money in a people's account. And those who they didn't have an account for, they have a registered address where they could just send one check.
Chuck, you know what it comes back around to? You remember when we were here talking about the misinformation and disinformation about accounts and stuff like that? This is what we talk about, where you could cause a life, because when you come on the internet, say, oh, the government want to take care of, no, government want this, that. No, you are being prevented from basically saving your own self, because propaganda got the best of you.
Got the best. Well, yeah, I turn on the light before. That tell me something like that.
You mean, are you gonna light the kerosene lamp? Turn light the kerosene lamp.
No, it's not a kerosene, it's a candle. Kerosene lamp is dangerous. But that is it. Yes, the misinformation we know against most of these people. Right? But a bank account today would work to many of those persons' benefit. Right? And the government has made it so easy when the government tell us, say, you don't need no 10,000 for a bank account anymore. You can now open a bank account with $1. Sorry, $100.
But can I ask a question though? Because you mentioned about the US and COVID and the stimulus checks and stuff. You know, a national ID right now, for you to travel on a plane, you have to have a national ID to go anywhere nationwide in this country. And a national ID is stating that it's a driver's license, real ID, driver's license. Wouldn't the NIDS also be tied to all this information? So if a check is even sent out to you, it will be sent out to you to your address that is on your national ID, your digital ID, your ID that we want, this ID thing that we've been trying to do, that people are not wanting, I should say. Because I want to mention this to say, Chuck, if you're a green card holder in the USA, your address have to be up to date and current. If your address is not up to date and current, and anything happen inside of you on immigration, that's a fine. That's a problem. That's a problem. So all of this is tied together. Your stimulus check, your current address, all of this, a bank account, all of this is tied. Same thing with your registration. Same thing with your registration. Same thing.
Use that, Angie, to segue into something else, probably just a little bit, Chuck. And I think I'm staying on topic, but just a little bit. The same news, I saw news today that says Jamaicans owe $4 billion in traffic ticket fines.
How much?
$4 billion.
Oh my God.
In the comment section, I laugh.
Oh my God.
Billion. And you know what, and here's the problem with that now. The problem with that is that the man them who hold the ticket, them still go get them license renewed, because guess what? The ticket and the license they're on two different systems.
Exactly.
And Chuck, the address again, real ID has been saying. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
The address, the real ID, like Chuck, we have to fix these things, These are the things Chuck, we have to get them something together. $4 billion, Chuck.
And Ambassador Audrey Marks is on the case, and I have confidence that she will have all of this soap in the next 2 years.
Yeah, man.
Yes, Ambassador Marks is on the case, right? But Sheikah was playing her speech about the digital signature bill yesterday. What do you think about it? You are somebody who you live in Canada, but you transact business in Jamaica, right? And normally, if you want to sign a document, you're telling you have to fly out and sign it. So you have to spend money for a plane ticket, take a leave from work just to come out and sign one document. But now we are
over the years,
digital signature.
Over the years, Chuck, it has gotten better. I can tell you that, because I have done some business. Well, when I was in Jamaica the other day, I had to go in to update my address. That for sure, and I had to bring in my ID. Versus living here in Canada, I relocated and I didn't have to do that. I just went on the banking app and update both my address, personal and business address, right? So I didn't have to. But versus Jamaica, they wanted me to come in to do that. I did some transaction the other day, and the lawyer had to literally courier the documents to me, right? They needed a wet signature from me. So, and that cost me, because that was taken out of whatever transaction I was doing. I had to pay for that. So it's time we move away from these things. You know that I am off on maternity leave, and there are some documents that were sent to me oftentimes for me to sign, and my signature is already embedded in work my work system. So once I'm just a sign, there's a particular code that just comes up and you just sign. So like we have to get ahead of these systems. Chuck, I have not been in a government building probably over 5 years. And I engage with the government every year.
And that is where we need to get.
Chuck, when I was doing the baby birth certificate, we just go online and do it. And once I did that, I got everything else. I signed up, birthing, weight, everything. And they sent me his birth certificate. They sent me his SIN. They sent whatever I was eligible for from the government, all of that, just one application. And it triggered everything. Everything was triggered, one application.
And that is where Jamaica is hoping to get. It can be a case where a man who have 500 parking ticket and then go renew a license and don't get no.
Chuck, I was talking to my friend the other day, and she said, my sticker on my car expire. I said, girl, when I renew it, and she bust out a laugh and said, I'm gonna have to pay my parking tickets because I can't renew my plates without paying the tickets. And she said they might all take my plate too, right? So we know what the system is like, Chuck. We know, and Jamaica need to get there because that's how they lose. Chuck, everything
needs to. Shika, everything. I don't understand how the transport authority and DMV has to be tied together. And you said it correctly, because my brother have thousands of tickets, drive taxi in Portland, and it's still allowed to register and license and do all of these things over. And let me tell you, even your insurance, if you have a problem with DMV or certain things, even a toll, it affects your insurance. And so all of this they have to talk to each other. And yet, on a PMP sit up on TikTok, I claim I want this and better, and I want to go and do this. These systems have to change. We are in 2026. Not even a patient don't have to sign with a paper and pen no more. Everything is digital. It's a tablet and a tough book, and they sign and they move on. And if the patient can't sign, all it says, patient is not available. Patient is unavailable to sign, and the system is going to ask you if it's because they are not all there, whether they are not physical or whatever, and it is just left as that. This is 2026, guys, and all of these systems have to talk to each other. It has to be one. It can't be one and the other, like Sheikah said. Makes sense.
I have some confidence now with the appointment of Ambassador Marks in this position, and I think I have some confidence. But as I say, the damage of the misinformation campaign about these things. As me talk about ID, you see, Jerry was going to tell me about Agenda 2030 or whatever it is. No, I don't give a crap about what agenda it is. I am just passing through this world. So I don't give a crap about what agenda you can tell me about. We're living in a world where to navigate this world, we need to have an identification. Now, identification in Jamaica is not mandatory, but I believe it should be. It should be. All of these people who are, is it, if I'm not mistaken, it is illegal to walk around New York without having an identification on you. Angel, correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't it illegal to walk around New York without having an identification?
It is not illegal. However, it is now enforced based on ICE. They want you to walk with passport nowadays, much less identification. You have to prove status nowadays. So it is recommended that you do. And now in the era of Trump, yes, it is.
The Trumpian era.
Yes.
Right. But Jamaica, we have to get on board, we have to play ball, we have to realize that these things are for the betterment of our country. It is better for service delivery. It is better even when you go to the hospital. If you come from Westmoreland and you have reason to duck into a hospital in Kingston, once you give your name and your date of birth, they should be able to bring up your medical records. The system has to be one. We are, as I say, we are far within the computer. We are in the AI era now.
Chuck,
Recently, while traveling, I had reason to visit a doctor, and the doctor was giving me some meds.
Before you go there, so we talk about join up government. If you miss any critical medical appointment or vaccination or anything like that, it is sent to you that this is missing. It is on time. And if it reach down to the nitty-gritty, Chuck, it is sent to the school, say you must be suspended. That it is in collaboration. So the systems, them, Chuck, they don't miss. They don't miss none at all. None at all.
It is automatic, like you said, sister. Every single one of those things is automatic.
But Jamaicans adapt to this system whenever they leave the shores of Jamaica. Right? And many of the persons, sorry for your lack of a better term, they comrade them with the line where discourage Jamaican from doing these things. These are the systems that they are living within overseas, in US, in England, in Canada. These are the systems that makes the country that they reside in flow seamlessly. But they will encourage their fellow Jamaicans not to participate in them. Why? Do we have to go back to Dr. Andre Hart's speech to understand the thinking of the PNP? We can go back to Dr. Andre Hart's speech. He said it, you know. He said, PNP don't give a crap about you. Them see you as subjects. Dr. Andre Hart said they keep you as dunce as possible. That's why them are telling us, say, don't go to heart, don't get a skill. They weaponize success. Them tell you, say, the only way you can be successful, and must something wrong you do. And me say it, you know, is a fish you come from river bottom. I tell you how down the stair. But in saying that, he has confirmed what I've said for years about that organization. It is not a good one. How is it a man with the thinking of Andre Harton end up in the PNP? In buying to the Michael Manley talk. He never He never look at the reality, but him by the vision with himself, Michael Manley, oh, this great leader who love people, who love poor people so much that he create more of them than any other time in our history.
I was watching the Senate yesterday, and it prompted
Oh, as a
me.
talk, I think I have Keith Duncan's speech here.
So the Senate was way hot yesterday, well hot, and it prompted me. I have to think about the day when I'm going to do. I'm going to go live on my YouTube channel. I probably have to do it on your day off, maybe on a Tuesday, Chuck.
Nope, a Monday.
A Monday, right? Senate review, because one of the lady from the PNP said the Prime Minister believe in revisional history. That means the PM is telling lies. And some things the lady said about Michael Manley Chuck. Some things the lady said. I wonder if I am thinking that we need to go through that speech, Chuck, and debunk it piece by piece. But
which lady? Who said it?
I think she named Timms. Here.
Don't worry. Let me go through.
Yeah, but the JLP people were on fire yesterday. Very, very good.
Well, I'll play Keith Duncan. Let me find fair section. Hold on. Let me play Keith Duncan.
Senator Duncan. Senator.
What happened? Hey.
Engage.
You know, I'm not here that word the time come. Guys, as if you are new, just press the follow button, please, and follow Chuck a little bit. Chuck now lead you astray, you know. So once you come in, just press the follow button. I will not lead you astray.
You hear me? No, because Senator Gill, engage that mic for me. Senator Duncan.
Yes. Listen, Mr. President.
That is yes.
Press the follow button as you come in. Don't be afraid. Follow Chuck. Chuck won't lead you astray. Classic jam. Let's go.
Good to go. Yes. Good. Mr. President, my Senate colleagues, good morning. So, Senator Small Ferguson, you have made a few points, and I'd like to address them in relationship to your presentation. Let me start with the last one, the point you made about hedging. And the former Minister of Finance, Dr. Nigel Clark, spoke to hedging. He said hedging is expensive, unpredictable, and can lead to losses if poorly timed. And we saw that poor timing in 2015. Now let me explain the approach of the Andrew Holness-led administration to gyrations and movement in commodity prices. We move to protect the most vulnerable in our country. In 2022, in response to rising energy prices, the Jamaica Labour Party administration launched the We Care Energy Co-Pay program. The GOJ implemented a direct pass-through to the JPS where the government of Jamaica paid 20% of the electricity bill for households consuming 200 kilowatt hours or less per month, benefiting over 457,000 people for a period of April to July 2027. We protect the most vulnerable. In relationship to fiscal responsibility and overall debt management, I will speak to this in the presentation a little more, but I just want to note that the debt to GDP ratio will rise to 68% this year and will trend down to 60% in 2029-2030. We remain committed to fiscal responsibility and managing our debt dynamics. Thirdly, in relationship to NHD, the NHD will be spending 53.7 capital expenditure this year, which is almost 50% of the total public body spending, not central government, public body spending of over $100 billion. $53.7 billion on housing solutions. This year, starting construction over 10,000 units. And last year that there was significant delivery of units. We can't get into the numbers, but I'm telling you, this 53.7 that's earmarked and in the budget.
But why can you imagine a Duncan running for a Labour Party seat? Unheard of.
We'll get back to that, sir. But thank you.
Guys, as an ender, just follow up. Don't be afraid to follow up.
And there was a big hullabaloo last time we spoke about this. We came here to debate the movement in the filing declaration date for corporate income tax.
I came here prepared to deal with
that, and you accused me of deflecting when it was you guys, you on that side that deflected and were speaking about the asset tax as a policy. No, there is alignment across the financial sector, economists on either side of the aisle of it being a distortionary tax, and Honorable Nigel Clark and everyone has spoken to that. But we must make tough fiscal choices, and this government of Jamaica, the anti-homeless-led administration, will make tough fiscal choices. But I note that in the Minister of Finance, in the spokesperson and Minister of Finance, and opposition leader made no recommendation about removing the asset tax in their presentation. So when we speak about the sale of receivables, the sale of receivables were designed to fund one-off capital expenditures, a one-off securitization measure to fund capital expenditure. One-off capital expenditure, not to fund recurring revenues. Thank you. Okay, that is a strategy to move and get things done.
Yes, guys, put it on top on the screen. Follow the host if you're not doing it already.
So I will now move into my substantive presentation. Thank you very much, though. Ramon, you make the thing exciting, man. May I tell you the truth, man. Thank you. Let's jump right in. So I rise this afternoon to support and endorse the government's estimates.
If 10 years ago, somebody did tell me, say, you would have a Duncan as a Labour Party senator, I would tell them that you're a top dream. Wake up.
Of expenditure for the fiscal year 26-27 and support the passage of the Appropriations Act without amendment. Jamaica's development agenda is squarely on the table. Jamaica's macro-fiscal position has significantly changed in the aftermath of Hurricane Melissa. Prior to its passage, Jamaica managed to record fiscal surpluses in 7 of the 8 prior fiscal years up to the end of the fiscal year 2024-25, while the exception being COVID in 2020-2021. And we were on track to achieve a 60% debt to GDP ratio ahead of the forecasted timeline. Since Melissa, however, the trajectory of public finances has been altered materially. As a result, the government is pursuing an aggressive development and growth agenda over the next 3 years and beyond to return our economy to pre-Melissa GDP levels by financial year 28-29 and to reduce fiscal deficits over this period while looking to sustain growth over the average 1% growth levels we have experienced for far too long. For the months running up, there's a lot of uncertainty running up to the budget. The country had heard about various announcements around NARA, about reconstruction, but there was no consolidated picture of how the government intended to rebuild. How it would be financed, or what the institutional architecture would look like. So I heard our finance minister courageously deliver the revenue measures for the first time in a budget opening presentation. And I waited with bated breath for a Prime Minister presentation, and he delivered what Jamaica required: an ambitious, coherent, multidimensional plan that brings together infrastructure, institutions, and financing in a single integrated framework. Dealing with NARA, infrastructure, roads, and regional investment strategies, ecosystems. Central to this vision are 4 guiding principles that will shape how Jamaica rebuilds. Principles that are simple to understand but profound in their implications. Build, number 1, build in the right places. Far too long, critical infrastructure, hospitals, schools, government offices, homes have been concentrated in low-lying coastal zones with full knowledge of the climate risk. That changes now. Where we build matters as much as what we build. Future development must be progressively relocated away from high-risk areas, and that's the intention. We have to build systems, number 2, that can withstand failure. The destruction wrought in places like Black River and Falmouth exposed a dangerous pattern. When everything is concentrated in one corridor, one surge can knock out everything at once. Going forward, our power grids, water systems, roads, and communication networks must be designed with backup capacity and distributed architecture, so that when one part fails, the rest keeps functioning. Resilience and single points of failure are incompatible. Now let me deal with a significant area that is going to drive sustainable growth for Jamaica. Building regional sub-economies, not just projects. This is an imperative that will drive the sustainable growth. Roads, hospitals, schools, housing, energy, these cannot continue to be planned and delivered in isolation from each other. The vision is integrated regional development, where infrastructure investments are connected and sequenced to create self-containing economic clusters across the island. The goal is not simply to repair what was damaged, but to use reconstruction as a catalyst to build genuine regional sub-economies, each with its own productive identity, employment base, and capacity to generate growth. We're building, number 4, a broader economic base. Physical resilience alone is not enough. A truly resilient nation must also be economically adaptable, with a productive base that spans agro-industry, logistics, manufacturing, digital service, and emerging sectors. Food and energy security must be treated as strategic national priorities, not afterthoughts. We will experience shocks, but when they arrive, Jamaica must have the economic depth to absorb it and keep moving. These 4 principles: build in the right places, build systems that can withstand failure, build regional sub-economies, and build a broader economic base, are not abstract ideals. They are already being applied in the rebuilding of Black River and Falmouth, and they will guide every investment decision under NARA going forward.
Tap the screen, everybody, please. Tap the screen.
I want to speak a little bit about capital expenditure and the increases. Central government capital expenditure is projected to increase in the medium term in response to the crisis and will average just about 90 billion each year for the next 4 years, central government. For 2026-27, the central government expenditure will be almost 100 billion. No, let me dial back. Central government capital expenditure is predicted to increase in the medium term response to the crisis and will average $90 billion over the next 4 years. For this year, the central government expenditure will be almost 100 billion, which is almost double the amount spent in the previous fiscal year. Public bodies' capital expenditure, including AHD, will also increase by 25 billion this year to 105 billion. So for the upcoming fiscal year, the total capital expenditure budget between central government and public bodies will be over $200 billion and will sustain levels within the range of 160 to 180 billion through financial year 29-30, which is 40% to 50% greater than previous year averages. This is significantly greater. The number is $59 billion This is significantly greater than allocations during previous years, and we will need to overcome capacity and procurement challenges in order to execute on this expanded capital expenditure portfolio of projects. Growth is projected to range from 1 to 3% over the medium term, as outlined in the GOJ fiscal policy paper. So capital spending will be crucial to meet forecasted growth rates at the sustained growth levels above the historical 1 to 2% average. Maintaining these growth levels will ensure increased economic activity, tax revenues, and thereby improving the fiscal situation and moving Jamaica back to a balanced budget and materially lower fiscal deficit over time. So how we deal with the challenges and the delays and the bureaucracy. Timely execution of projects has been our main challenge. NARA and Fast Jamaica are meant to address this. The PM was right to acknowledge candidly that Jamaica has never lacked vision of projects. What has consistently failed us is speed of execution. The root causes are well known. Fragmented approvals, cumbersome procurement, bureaucratic layering. NARA directly addressed this for public infrastructure with special powers to accelerate approvals and project delivery. Equally important is Fast Jamaica, which established a structured fast-track pathway for transformational private investments of US $150 million or more. I would like to recommend that Fast Jamaica becomes a companion to NARA to recommend that incorporating both into the same legislative framework or at minimum ensuring statutory linkages between them would maximize the combined impact. The government cannot do this alone, and Fast Jamaica recognizes this reality, and therefore it is public-private sector working together to grow Jamaica. We also have speed stages of the construction project cycle to accelerate growth and get us back to normal within this 3-year period. So the streamlining processes for efficiency and economic development will also be critical to the reforms to the public procurement system to make it faster and more efficient, and also to enable the increase in approval thresholds while reducing the time between procurement decisions. So actively being worked on, and will become a reality. Our Minister of Education will deal with the human capital area, but I will say there are significant investments that are being made in the human capital area, because we cannot do this. People are the center of the policy and who will drive economic growth and development. However, to complement the GOJ's human capital development efforts, given the scale of the rebuilding efforts, along with the shortfall of specialized skill sets in the private sector, we should look to leverage foreign talent for higher value-added services, which can transfer knowledge to our local talent over time. This will deal with the structural challenge, having achieved full employment prior to Melissa with an unemployment rate which was at 3.3%, almost full employment. This initiative about bringing in foreign talent with the appropriate skill sets for the private sector and public sector will build capacity while we continue to build our human capital development and equip our labor force. Speaking a little bit about energy, growth will also be massively helped by reducing Jamaica's energy costs, which average between US 35 cents and US 40 cents per kilowatt hour and are significantly higher than our peers across the Caribbean and Latin America, which currently averages 25 cents per kilowatt hour. There should be a sustained focus on bringing down the cost of energy to increase competitiveness and productivity. There will be strategic projects around energy, which will be a part of the portfolio of projects that will be executed. Also, with the negotiations with the Jamaica Public Service, we expect, or others that may come to the table, we expect that this will be an objective to bring down the cost of energy. Public sector compensation and fiscal risk. In the current wage negotiations, all stakeholders will need to take into account the fiscal challenges. Increasing productivity and efficiency of the public and private sector will become crucial to provide increased tax revenues and fiscal space. After tremendous sacrifice and restraint of the public sector, there was a cumulative increase of $300 billion from a compensation level of $222 billion when the public sector held out until the public sector compensation review was completed. And by the time the wage bill was $222 billion. That wage bill has now moved to $519 billion in 26-27. That's an increase of $60 billion per year, or a 20% average in public sector compensation year over year for the last 5 years, from $222 billion to $519 billion. That creates a fiscal risk, and that is a decision that was taken by the Andrew Holness-led administration government about compensating our public sector at fair wages. Now, this does create a real compression on our expenditures. And therefore, we have to manage this very carefully, because as a percentage of tax revenues, our public sector compensation is now at 56% in 25-26 of tax revenues and 13.8% of GDP. Now, this is coming from 9.6% of GDP and 36.1% of tax revenues. So as a country, as Jamaicans, we need to work together to ensure that we moderate, manage, and everybody takes a collective responsibility to this, because we need to educate, make our country aware, such that we can all manage expectations. As we know, if you have the public sector taking 56% of tax revenues, and if we average about right around 50% for the next 4 years, as outlined in the fiscal policy paper, this will it will reduce the fiscal flexibility we have, and therefore we're talking about health, education, national security, and our social safety net. These are areas where we need to focus, so we just need to ensure that we have the right balance in terms of our expenditures. So we can, thank you very much on that point. You can clap that one in. Keith, now clap. Okay. You don't want to clap that point? Okay. Let's move on.
I need you to answer the brother. May I call him to answer the brother there, Stephen?
Let's deal with productivity.
Who does I need to answer? Mr. Stephen Higgins. Now, Mr. Stephen Higgins is the gentleman that came here the other day, who tried to tell me, say, him go to government can't buy no medication.
Is that the one that wants things from government but don't like government?
No, not him. Him is the one who said he got you and couldn't get no medication and he not available nowhere. And then when we prove him, when we prove I never him, he said no, him have one sick niece or one sick somebody.
Oh, so one more line.
Stephen Higgins is one of those low information persons that come here to seek some attention, which I cannot afford right now. Stephen Higgins, I would love for you to point out to me the lie that Senator Duncan has told. And again, before you tell me hold on, because we're not afraid of them. Somebody invite up Mr. Higgins for me, please. I would like, hold on, Joshua. I would like Mr. Higgins to come and point out the lie. And Mr. Higgins, again, we over here, we like to discuss facts and not your opinion and your feeling. So you say Mr. Duncan has told a lie. What lie did he tell?
First of all, you mentioned something about last time I had dialogue with you. You are lying about that. Did I tell you
what
that?
What did I lie about, sir?
And that lady, you know.
No, there's nobody here with the name that lady. You have Rashika, you have Angel. There's no that lady here. Who did that? No, man, not put him up.
Who removed him? Who did that?
Who removed him? Don't do that. No, who removed him? Put him back, man.
I don't know why we do that.
If I somebody remove him, but that's it. Nobody I can jump back. But you can send back a request, please. Somebody add him back. There's nobody here by the name that lady. There are two ladies in the box. They both have name display.
Guys, I don't get offended when somebody calls me that. I don't get offended at all. So it doesn't even move me. I'm a lady of class, integrity. I'm very intelligent, beautiful, smart, independent. I can't even stop. So when I listen to certain people who is not even in my league say certain things, it doesn't bother me. So let's have the conversation, please.
You forget to tell him that you're a Jamaican with English accent. You never mentioned that part.
I've gotten that too.
But Mr. Stevens, I would love for you to come back, sir, please, because I want you to tell me the lie that Mr. Duncan told and bring your evidence, because, as I said, we don't like to discuss things based on your feelings or your opinion. We are fueled by facts and facts alone. Right? Brother Joshua, you're saying something.
You know, I wanted him to come up and tell where him said the line because I have the tape in my phone right now where Mark Golding agreed on CVM TV that we're at full employment. So how can his current leader agree on national television? In fact, before he agreed, he said he's afraid to because his opponent will use it against him. That's what he said publicly. That's what he said. So I'm wondering, how is it that his comrade leader agrees that there is full employment and he doesn't agree? Huh? One of them at the
you see, as I said, people are they reason these things based on their feelings, you know. And that is why when I tell them, so when you come here, you have to come with information. We don't deal with your feelings or your opinion. Or your opinion is not fact. Bring facts. If you're gonna say something, bring evidence. And that is the mountain I will die on. That's right. Evidence-based discussion.
Using the word evidence in the same sentence with PNP is like asking a frog to bark. Have you ever heard a barking frog before, Chuck? I saw one this morning at my door. Did you hear him?
No, I don't think I've ever woke up one before.
Oh, okay. That means I was not dreaming then, man. But getting us to pause. Let us get back to business. You know,
and that part is that I don't think he had an objective. He just wanted to a little bit of attention. So you're right.
And by the way, let him know who Keith Duncan is now, since you alluded to it earlier, but let him know.
Keith Duncan is the son of DK Duncan.
Let's deal with productivity. Senator Brown,
you know, get no more comrade than DK than the Duncan family.
Because I know
the brother of Imani Duncan, the brother of Patricia Duncan Sutherland.
The productivity of the public and private sector increase. I know that you would definitely want to see the output of our country increase per worker. I know that all of us want exactly that. So the national
guys, put some top on the screen, and if you ever you want to send it to Chuck, send it to Chuck.
Efficiency in the public and private
if you're not
sector.
following.
This will drive growth, thereby increasing growth levels beyond the forecasted 1 to 3%. Thereby, increasing productivity increases domestic demand, GDP, and tax revenues. This will create greater fiscal space, increasing per capita incomes for Jamaican public and private sector workers. Greater per capita income.
You know, the little time when I get up, go in there, so me come back. A 2 restriction me get up.
Yeah, because them don't want the truth to come out.
Which currently stands at US 8,000 GDP per capita, which is amongst the lowest in the region. So we have to increase productivity in order to move this number. And with the development agenda for Jamaica, we have a real opportunity if we companion increasing productivity with this development agenda.
Not going through.
We have a real opportunity
I don't understand that
as
one
a country to really move these levels of.
No, King, you know, so them only strict for me. Me don't know why me do them only strict for me. Because me see people around some life where far worse than what me I do. People no. And them not get the restriction that me get.
Levels, growth in GDP levels for ourselves as a country. So, Jamaica's productivity challenge is a wake-up call that we can no longer ignore. The data the Prime Minister presented on labor productivity was sobering and deserves to be widely discussed. Jamaica produces approximately $8.99 of output, US $9 of output per worker, 8.81. Less than half the Caribbean average of US $20.50. This is a structural challenge and it demands a structural response, including investment in skills, technology, and the productive sector. The PM has indicated that full policy position on productivity will be brought to Parliament, and that we welcome. That we welcome.
Oh, okay. I saw you go, King. I did not know that one.
Back to the public sector compensation. The PM was right to flag this as a fiscal risk and call for future wage settlements in productivity and GDP growth rather than inflation alone. This is a difficult but necessary conversation, and it must be had honestly in Jamaica's best interest.
Guys, if I don't get this appeal,
no, the financing of
never go restart the live. I'm never go end the live. I'm not one them.
The core of the US $6.7 billion multilateral package, providing patient, affordable capital for public infrastructure where commercial returns alone cannot justify private investment. That's approximately $4.3 billion. This support package is designed to provide needed capital without destabilizing Jamaica's improved debt profile. And as we discussed a little earlier, Senator Small Ferguson, sir, we see Jamaica's debt to GDP ratio tracking back down to 60% by 29-30, despite increased debt levels to finance this financing of our development, growth and development resurgence agenda. Private sector mobilization, US $2.4 billion of PPPs, public-private partnerships. US $2.4 billion is specially designed to crowd in private capital, with the government providing the enabling conditions and private investors providing execution. $2.4 billion of multilateral funding for PPPs. Private sector coming together with the public sector to execute with timely and at scale. We have seen examples of this. Senator Tomlinson, IDB Invest and Sagicor, high value opportunities. IDB Invest and Sagicor with the Rio Cobre water treatment project, which was just implemented about last year, right? That is an example of public-private partnership. We have the model. We have the know-how. Now we scale it. And the capital markets and the private sector, as Minister Hill indicated, must prepare themselves. And we are innovative enough in this financial sector, as Sagicor was in structuring this deal, and Berita has also in other public-private partnerships, that we have the know-how. So let us leverage this opportunity for public-private partnerships. Let's leverage this US $2.4 billion and to be a companion to the $4.3 billion of that is funding public infrastructure, $6.7 billion US dollars available to drive growth and development, the resurgence of our Jamaican economy. We went a little further than that. Senator Small Ferguson, domestic capital. And as president of the JSDA, you have done tremendous work in this regard, sir, in leading that entity.
Senator Duncan, you might have to congratulate him after the sitting.
What the time done?
You have a minute to wrap.
Okay, minute to wrap up. I'm almost there. Okay. So domestic capital, mobilizing Jamaica's own savings through pension funds and insurance companies. I was particularly pleased to see that, and you and I are. And the recent reforms announced by the Minister of Finance unlock long-term pools of institutional capital. Very helpful in this regard, and this will be an area.
Yeah.
So, and Jamaican Yardy page, I think that's why Jamaican Yardy, he has some snippets, some excerpts from the Senate yesterday, and I think those capture like the high points with Shireen and a few others. I can play those.
Yeah, more find this lady where you say big up Manly.
Let me see if I can go back on my thing and look. I mean, the curve come for just a while ago. And I look on him.
Which one you have to be more specific?
Hey, Sheikah, tell him say you not only have my heart, but I'm your bodyguard. So if him touch you, him have to touch me. Plus I'm your other husband. So the man at the black cap over there, so can't even bother saying
That's right. When you talk to somebody, they might relish the fact of coming to touch you. So you have to be careful.
You have 4 hours, 15 minutes stroke. Right after the
4
break,
hours,
she came in, yeah. 4 hours.
4 hours
15.
and 15 minutes. Oh, that simply mean I'm watching the wrong one. Hold on.
Hey, Chuck, you know,
March
you can't tell,
27.
you
This
know.
was yesterday. The one that the program have a 3 hour and 30 minutes in another 4 hours.
Chuck, you know, easy. You love the foolishness, you know.
Oh, the 27. This is it. 4 hour, how much?
15. About 15.
That? Not much.
Right after that, she came in. Hi, Joshua.
How are you, darling?
I was looking for something, yeah.
Can you be a travel advisor without quitting your 9 to 5?
Is it this one who's looking woman?
In our
We
pin
know
something.
that colonialism and slavery brought brutal violence into our midst as a norm, made us poor, made us self-doubting, made us think deeply about what a different world built on freedom, equal rights and justice could look like. We know our ancestors looked to...
No, you want me to reverse, to rewind the tape. That's what you want me to do. I will rewind the tape, you know, but you have to be careful of the instruction that you give. I'm not finding when to just enter, yeah. Yeah, Bertie, I'm going to find Marlon Morgan after this.
Hey, while you're looking at Chuck, you know, one other thing I admire about the PM, in I'm ram to find good talents, you know.
Yes, but you have to sell your soul.
Dengue is ordinarily a mild disease. Persons may get a fever, headache, joint and muscle pain. Even the doctor advises rest and adequate hydration along with paracetamol to treat their complications.
Yes, bona dengue.
However, on occasions the illness can...
Come on, people, top up the screen, follow me, you know. Send me a lion, send me a bear, send me a tiger, any farmer of the feline that we have. You take. Angel said more earlier, but it escaped.
My God, you know.
You should not be nice at all. Yes, I should go right to our feet right now. But I don't recognize her. She could be one of manly bloodline, she could be one of manly bastard picnic. She have the complexion.
If you're playing anything, we're not hearing you. And she's a new senator. She's a lecturer at UE, I think.
I think them are prepared, but she not get up yet. She not rise to her feet yet. I think them just winding her up for release her. No, that is the sound of Parliament when nobody now say anything. I apologize. But I don't recognize but she have the complexion to be one of manly bastard picnic. Right, okay, they're back now.
From Senator Thame. Senator, engage your 2 mics, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, in framing his contribution to the budget debate, the Prime Minister told the nation that the world order as we knew it had changed, that he knew the present state of world affairs was troubling to most Jamaicans, and that seeming unfairness appears to characterize the new order. But, Mr. President, when has this not been so? While he said, quote, our historic colonial experiences create an almost instinctive reflex that we will be victims in a world where raw power is dismantling the protection of a rules-based system, he seems not to have understood that even in so-called rules-based order, people like us were never protected from raw power. The Prime Minister said he was concerned about how we were going to navigate this space and do more than just survive, but thrive, and that we must learn from our past to do so. He tried to give us a history lesson, Mr. President, but I am the teacher. Mr. President, we on this side know where we are coming from as a people. We know that colonialism and slavery brought brutal violence into our midst as a norm, made us poor, made us self-doubting, made us think deeply about what a different world built on freedom, equal rights and justice could look like. We know our ancestors looked to the mountains and knew if they could make it to the top, they would be free. In other words, they always had sight of a better world and were willing to fight for this land. We, the descendants of Africans enslaved in the Americas, know that the road is long and rough. 400 years, Mr. President, but we never get weary. We will always resist injustice. On that long road, Mr. President, there were always those who would take the side of people with power. The plantation owners, the colonizers, the imperialists. There were always those willing to sell out the struggle so they could get some power or likes for themselves. Those who Erna Bradford has told us were, quote, not uncomfortable with the myths of the master's superiority. We have to always ask ourselves, Mr. President, what side of history are we on? Jamaican people must at this time ask themselves, are they on the side of justice and equality, or are they propping up the powerful and hurting the weak? Mr. President, the PM likes to engage in revisionist history. In plain Jamaican language, him like make up things. He suggested that Michael Manley mash up Jamaica, but we must mash down that lie. And to mash it down, we must tell the truth. The truth, Mr. President, will set us free. Let us start with the 1960s. Mr. President, the Prime Minister proudly declared that Bustamante's statement, "We are with the West," was somehow a principled one. Wasn't the West responsible for our colonization, our enslavement and oppression? Weren't our brothers and sisters in Africa fighting to free themselves from the West? In the Prime Minister's optimistic reading of the stewardship of the Jamaica Labour Party in the first 10 years of independence, he said, quote, the period between 1962 and 1972 saw political stability, the fastest pace of growth and development of the Jamaican economy and the build-out of our institutions, end quote. Mr. President, we must smash down these lies. In actuality, the fastest period of growth was in the 1950s, continued into the 60s, and it began to slow towards the end of the decade. Mr. President, you might remember
the first lie come right there, sir. The first lie come right there, sir. You cannot say it started to slow when our economic growth up until 1972 was 18.5%, lady. So, me don't know which lie you are mashed down. But your lie right there so get mashed down early. I don't need a research to tell me that.
Chucky,
you cannot say the greatest period of growth was the 50s when prior to Michael Manley taking office, our economic growth was 18.5%. Where is it, Joshua?
Well, all right. I was waiting until you finished. I just wanted to grab your attention to say when you're done, I want to make a point.
Go ahead.
You know, see what she's trying to do? She's trying to make excuse for Michael Manley's failure. So she's trying to say that Norman started the growth process and it sped up into the 60s. And by the time the Jamaica Labour Party got it, it started slowing down. And that is why the destruction of the 70s happened. That's the revision that they're trying to create.
You don't think you don't hear nothing yet? You don't think me say me have to stop and look on the phone?
The Ethiopian song Everything Crash, that was released in 1968. And what did they say? They said everybody was on strike down to the policeman. They said, and what one by the morning can't come go that evening. Poverty rose in the 60s. Urbanization surged. And between 1962 and 72, unemployment almost doubled, rising from approximately 13% to 22%. People lacked piped water. Illiteracy was at 53% in 1970. No black person could work as a teller in a bank. People lived in squalor and had little access to decent housing. Yes, this was a time of growth. But more critically for the descendants of Africans enslaved in Jamaica, it was a time of great inequality and impoverishment. The 1960s were a turbulent political period which saw black people shut out of power. In 1963, Bustamante sent the police and the army to hunt Rastafarians in what became known as Black Friday. They were tortured and killed, Mr.
It is funny when you speak about that history with Rasta. When you're speaking about the economy, you could go back to 1950. But when you talk about the Rasta, then you can't go back to 1950, go talk when Norman Manley do.
But hold on, no Chuck. You know, here she contradicted herself just before that, the statement before that. She said, yes, the economy was growing then. You know, here, you missed that.
No, I did not.
Huh?
No, I did, but let me go back up a little bit.
Yeah, man, she contradicted herself. She said, yes.
No,
she was
talking
about strikes. She said, yes, the economy was growing then. But as she seen one prior to that, say, the economy was slowing down. Yo, the people are something else.
Chica, I don't know you spend time listening to them people. Like I can't listen. I can't sit down and listen to them. You know? You can't sit down and listen to them because listen to them. Their reasoning is to try to prop up the image of Michael Manley.
You know that's the thing that hurt PNP the most. Once you start to expose the true Michael Manley.
Tortured and killed, Mr. President. Bustamante banned black nationalists.
Bustamante never sent after Rastaman. They sent them after some rebels that was raising arm against the state. Where the fact that they happened to be some Rasta was never by Busta design. There were people that was raising arm against the state.
You started something though, Chuck, that you never mentioned. You should have pointed out that Norman locked up the Rasta in the 50s. I have the newspaper article, so no comrade can show me.
That's why I say that it's surprising. So Harris should never go back to this. So when I speak at the Rasta man.
No, you know, me know, she can know. But the audience don't know, and they need to know this. So don't just mention it and leave it.
So
you need
the convenience of going back when you talk about economy, it started from the 50s. But when you talk about the atrocities to the Rastaman now, remember say it start from the 50s too. You remember failure there, so? You remember failure upon a one day. Listen to me, Sheikah. Honestly, me can't listen no more of that, you know.
And it gets worse. Trust me. So not listening.
Don't worry. Somebody go and slap her.
Right. I think I am going to create. I'm going to listen to her privately, one of them there, and create a video response to her. Yes, I will have a reason with her on YouTube
and make sure you quote sources whenever you're responding, so people can go look for the source. Got them too lie.
Yes, you're right. Okay, Jamaica, you always have to find Marlon. Sheikah, what time Marlon speak?
Let me check. Hold on.
Comrades on the line, they said you can't find, man.
You're in a political. You come to debate the estimate of expenditure, and Michael Mandy you come and talk about.
Because guess what? Them have to find a way to save, to prop up the image and save them God. Because I realize that people now buy the Kool-Aid and we are exposing it. You see, even the 60s, what them talk about, the period of great poverty, right? Yes, there was poverty at that time, leading from the 50s. And that is why...
Yes, we were just coming out of independence.
Right, and that is why Buster implemented the systems that he implemented. Should not talk about the boy when Norman Manley came up with the common entrance idea is only 1.1% of public schools, and I'm talking the primary school students, were getting places while the rich was getting 98.9. Huh?
Chuck 838, thereabout are 830. Next thing, how many did I say? I think I need to play Shireen before though.
Shireen?
Yeah, Shireen, what them?
As far as we are concerned,
all this a crew beta, when can they?
let down the minimum wage workers, broken promise. It let down the...
Why this a crew beta can they?
Mr. President, for us on this side, the appropriation bill being debated is about delivering solutions to the challenges confronting the Jamaican people. It is about focusing keenly on improving the quality of life and securing the livelihood of the Jamaican people in what is a difficult and trying post-Hurricane Melissa dispensation. This appropriation bill is the mechanism through which the Jamaica Labour Party government's master plan for our recovery and restoration is being operationalized. Our journey from resilience to research.
Yes, sir, Joshua.
We recognize that for the PNP members, this debate is about political grandstanding, revolutionist history, and vulgar opportunism. Literally exploiting, as we just heard a while ago, the vulnerability, hardship, and dislocation bedeviling our people as a result of the devastation Hurricane Melissa left in her wake. But I have news for them, Mr. President. Where the PNP sees crisis, we in the governing Jamaica Labour Party see opportunity. Where they whine and complain, we inspire hope and creativity. They find a problem for every solution. We find the solutions to our nation's problem. Where they preach doom and gloom, we preach positivity and point people to opportunities, helping them move from resilience to resurgence. And Mr. President, as the Prime Minister said elsewhere, while they on that side only talk, nonsense in many instances, we on this side get things done.
Nonsense in many instances.
We get things done, Mr. President, by moving the minimum wage from the $5,600 it stood at under the PNP to the $17,000 it will stand at come July 2026. We get things done by presenting 10 consecutive budgets with no net new taxes. We get things done by reducing unemployment from just over 13% under the PNP to the 3.3% it stands at today. We get things done by reducing poverty from the 21.2% it stood at under the PNP in 2015 to the 7.8 record low it stands at present per the last survey of living conditions. Previously, poverty stood at 8.2% per the 2023 survey. And of course, Mr. President, youth unemployment under them was in the order of 30%, and under us at present, it's in the order of 10%, Mr. President. While we get things done by abolishing the Students' Loan Bureau guarantor requirement, we are making the aspiration of attaining higher education a reality for Jamaicans from lower socioeconomic backgrounds. We get things done, Mr. President, by delivering on compensation review, providing public sector workers with the largest salary increases they have ever received in this country. We get things done by providing a rural school bus system which offers a cheaper, safer and more reliable mode of transportation to our children in rural Jamaica, whether they want to describe them as old buses or not. We get things done by bringing more arable land into agricultural production and significantly increasing the acreage of irrigated agricultural lands. We get things done by rehabilitating the largest number of farm roads and establishing the long-desired cold storage facilities at Kirkvine in Manchester and Essex Valley over in St. Elizabeth. We get things done, Mr. President, by increasing NHD low-income home grants, facilitating home improvement, increasing the NHD low ceiling time and again, building communities, delivering thousands of housing solutions, and lowering NHD interest rates. There's a 0% interest rate for the lowest income earners in this country, Mr. President, under this government. That is the difference between us on this side and them on that side.
There's a gentleman on TikTok here, O'Keefe, that says he got his house, he's and his wife, him and him darling wife, our husband, I don't remember which one, get him house when Portia was in office. And that the zero loan category was his idea and Portia implemented. And I asked these people if they're not afraid of God.
We get things done for the poor and vulnerable in this country, increasing path payments, providing a social pension for persons aged 75 and older, increasing NIS pensions, modernizing the life certification process via the AmAlive app, which Minister Morris Dixon would have pioneered in her previous incarnation. And of course, we have delivered over 300 concrete housing solutions with inside bathroom facilities to the poor and needy in this country under the new social housing program. And of course, we have been improving the state of infirmaries and we have established drop-in centers. In addition to the recently announced government procurement set aside for micro, small and medium-sized enterprises, we get things done by instituting reforms to make it easier for MSMEs to access much-needed equity financing and lower-cost capital for business expansion and retooling. I speak here, Mr. President, of the DBJ, the reforms that have been announced vis-a-vis pension funds, and of course, insurance funds. And most importantly, Mr. President, we on this side get things done by bringing crime down to a 30-year low of less than 700 murders in calendar year 2025. And as you can appreciate, we are on course to go even lower this year, perhaps below the 500 mark here in calendar year 2026. Mr. President, the members opposite want to put the government in a quagmire by imperiling revenue outturn and throwing our nation's fiscal program off track. That's the only thing one can conclude when one considers the ramifications of some of the proposals they advanced during the budget debate and even throughout today during this debate on the appropriation bill before us. The opposition PNP approached the budget debate and are approaching today's appropriation bill debate with a pre-Hurricane Melissa posture. I was at pains to point that out to all the members opposite Sotovoshe throughout the course of today. How can the raft of hairy election promises in a pre-Hurricane Melissa dispensation be copied and pasted in this dispensation and presented as so-called policy proposals? As out of touch and outdated as the opposition PNP is on the question of cooperation in healthcare between Jamaica and Cuba, as well as the issue of transportation for rural school children, the PNP is outdated and out of touch on the matter of our nation's finances. As Finance Minister Fable Williams exposed in her rebuttal as she closed the budget debate this past Tuesday, the electronic invoicing and digital nomads policy suggestions for revenue generation would not and cannot materialize anytime soon. The PNP wants the government to give up its credible and sustainable revenue generation program for their tenuous, impractical, poorly thought out and unsustainable revenue-raising suggestions. Imagine, Mr. President, they are in opposition. They should be studied. They should be undertaking copious research and consulting, if needs be, with sober and measured, competent professionals. Yet they come to these debates exhibiting chaka-chaka policy formulation and chaka-chaka workmanship. I urge you, my fellow Jamaicans, take sleep and mark that. Chaka-chaka workmanship as opposition leads to chaka-chaka workmanship as government, and we cannot afford to let that happen. Mr. President, what we saw and heard from Julian Robinson and Mark Golding during the budget debate render them unsuitable to hold the reins of responsibility as Finance Minister and Prime Minister, respectively, in this country. They are simply not suited. A chaka-chaka government like that which would be formed by the PNP would destroy our economy and reverse the gains the Jamaican people individually and collectively have worked so hard and have sacrificed so much to attain. Other observers, Mr. President, seem to be of the same view. Speaking on a post-budget panel during Nationwide News Network's cover story this past Tuesday, respected development economist Dr. Christian Stokes said the following, and I quote, "The moment that Mr. Robinson made his budget presentation, he left his, to use a boxing metaphor, he left his chin exposed because a credible case could not be made that those revenue initiatives could be done in time for April 1st. The noted development economist, Dr. Christian Stokes, basically went on to describe the finance minister's rebuttal of Julian Robinson as, quote, detailed, justified, and well done, end quote. He went on to posit, and I'm quoting again, we went through a budget debate, and frankly, the proposals made by the opposition in how they would finance the budget were really not realistic. And a me says so, Mr. President, a Dr. Christian Stokes says so. It is simply not credible to be proposing to do so much in terms of expenditure and fancy proposals, while at the same time asserting that you would not go the route of new taxes and you would not discontinue the $11.4 billion drawdown from the NHD, Mr. President. Time come, Mr. President, for the PNP to stop fooling up the Jamaican people. Time come for for the PNP to stop giving the Jamaican people a 6 for a 9. What we heard during the budget debate from opposition leader Mark Golding and his spokesman on finance, Julian Robinson, and no doubt what we heard throughout the course of today in this debate on the appropriation bill from the PNP senators is so-so voodoo type economics. As Finance Minister Faithful Williams said on Tuesday, Mr. President, their maths is simply not mathsing. Mr. President, the opposition PNP would have us believe that they are sincere in their pontification and exhortations regarding the dislocation and hardship confronting many of our Jamaican brothers and sisters, especially those domiciled in Western Jamaica. During the budget debate, the point was made about displaced people sleeping in cars. Indeed, during his contribution to the debate, Julian Robinson shared with us the plight of Miss Margaret in Savannah Lamar, whose shop, he said, was destroyed by Hurricane Melissa, and James in Montego Bay, who he said runs a small transport business and suffered tremendous loss as a result of Hurricane Melissa-related damage to his vehicle. Mr. President, the Jamaican people will recall that at a time, as Senator Sinclair said just now, when every Jamaican should have been standing in one accord, demonstrating solidarity with the country's centralized and streamlined efforts to mobilize post-Hurricane Melissa relief support and raise funds via the Support Jamaica platform, the opposition PNP went about setting up their own fundraising platform, a parallel and competing portal dubbed, quote, PNP Hurricane Melissa Relief, end quote. In a rank and vulgar exhibition of party considerations over country, the opposition PNP, Mr. President, and its supporters have invariably diverted support that could otherwise have gone to Jamaica in terms of the Support Jamaica platform to their own platform, which was a party-related initiative. Now, the question is, since the opposition PNP is so keen on telling us about people sleeping in cars and enduring considerable hardship as a result of Hurricane Melissa, how much of the money raised by the PNP's Hurricane Melissa Relief Fund have they given in humanitarian aid to the people sleeping in the cars? How much of the money raised by the PNP has Julian Robinson and Mark Golding made available to Miss Margaret from Savannah Lamar or James from Montego Bay? I urge the people of Jamaica, Mr. President, to take sleep and mark death. Mr. President, the difference between us on this side and the members on that side is that we on this side put our money where our mouth is. They are talk, we are substance.
Oftentimes nonsense.
Our genuine care and concern are borne out, Mr. President, by the Hurricane Melissa relief and recovery interventions we have rolled out, both from a state-funded government standpoint and from our personal resources, including the millions donated by Senators Abka Fitz-Henley and Christian Tavares Finson, which Senator Lambert Brown seems to have sleepless nights over. Mr. President, it would be remiss of me to contribute to this debate and not bring a most profound point into sharp focus. I want to implore my Jamaican brothers and sisters looking on, if you take nothing else away from this debate and the entire budget process, if you, the people of Jamaica, remember nothing else from this debate and the entire budget process, I want you to remember this. Whatever the PNP says about the state of the economy and the state of our beloved country, whatever negative picture they paint and would have you believe, best believe that in their personal life and private business affairs, they are having it otherwise. When them say nothing are going, Mr. President, when them say nothing are going, they are misleading you. because big things are going for enough for them in their personal life and personal business affairs. PNP officials, especially the top and hardest ones, tell their supporters one thing while they do another. They tell their supporters that times are hard, things are tough, and nothing are going, while they are all about the place, Mr. President, investing, pursuing business opportunities, and making money like they have never made money before. I am here this afternoon, Mr. President, to expose their hypocrisy and mash down their lie. Mr. President, it is simply cruel and demonstrably unconscionable, Mr. President, to draw the wool over people's eyes, especially their indoctrinated and misguided PNP supporters.
Guys, if you're poppy and you're not follow Chuck yet, just press the follow button, please. Just press the follow button and follow Chuck, please. Chuck will never lead you astray. Be a member of the Chuck Stop.
Also, have to send your daily
supporters and blind.
Huh? You also have to sell your daily heart me, guys, so that the live don't get banned and restricted. Please send
yes,
something
send
live.
your daily heart me.
Send a little
Chuck.
Send some.
Chuck will not lead you astray.
Them while their own eyes remain open. The eyes of the PNP officials are wide open as they go about the place buying up land, they develop land, they get into real estate, they acquire heavy equipment for construction, and they get into construction, into agriculture, including hydroponic farming, like their General Secretary, rearing goat, like Damian Crawford, and such the like. It is only in this debate that we saw the rank hypocrisy on display. The member opposite, who waxed warm on the question of beach access, was revealed as being associated with a household that owns a private beach. What kind of hypocrisy is that? Mr. President, PNP President and Opposition Leader Mark Golding stands on a soapbox regarding beach access, yet he, PNP President and Opposition Leader Mark Golding, say Marky G, stands on a soapbox regarding beach access, yet he is reportedly associated with a company, a project that is offering beachfront real estate for sale. Such hypocrisy. Mr. President, the PNP is a classic case of the hand of Esau and the voice of Jacob. They are inherently tricksters. It was Damian Crawford, Mr. Tricks You himself, who publicly confirmed that some years ago, their ostensible next leader. Mr. President, they tell the people one thing while they do another. And that is why the Prime Minister, Mr. President, felt compelled to highlight the PNP's hypocrisy during the budget debate, revealing that one PNP MP called and urged him to ignore the utterances of their embattled General Secretary Dayton Campbell, who was opposing the salary increase, citing that they could not survive without it. The Prime Minister also exposed the PNP MPs. The Prime Minister also exposed that the PNP MPs were the first ones calling into the Parliament, Mr. President, for a calculation as to their retroactive salary. Imagine that. The opposition PNP often characterize our economy as low growth, low tech, low wage. Isn't it contradictory, therefore, Mr. President, that they scoff at and ridicule our thrust to systematically lift the minimum wage over this 5-year policy cycle? Our undertaking is to move the minimum wage ultimately to 32,000 Jamaican dollars. It should be noted, Mr. President, that increased capital allowance, the liberalization of capital, as I mentioned earlier, pension funds and insurance funds, curricular development, and workforce training emphasizing STEM as well as strategic partnerships such as those forged with India and manifest in the work of the Amber Group, for example, are encouraging developments vis-a-vis increased incorporation and mainstreaming of the ingredients where tech is support. Those are the things that will move us further along the value chain and ensure that Jamaica secures more exponential levels of growth. Mr. President, what I like about this 2026-2027 budget and the appropriation bill that gives effect to it is the degree to which it addresses many of the long-standing inhibitors and binding constraints on growth. We heard from the Finance Minister a well-thought-out suite of measures that will free up capital to the productive sector and other businesses. So the opposition often lament and likes to ask, where is the growth going to come from? Well, they have yet another answer, Mr. President. No less a person than the Prime Minister himself also brought the growth imperative into sharp focus, underscoring NARA, underscoring FAST, and how those principal mechanisms will serve to accelerate our rates of growth. Mr. President, both Julian Robinson and Mark Golding brought the issue of tax compliance into sharp focus during the budget debate as part of their no new tax, no NHT drawdown advocacy vis-a-vis raising much needed revenue to finance the 2026-2027 budget. Go after the tax dodgers and those who are not compliant, they said. The money is there to be collected. Go and collect it, they said. The next few minutes must be used to lay bare, Mr. President, the PNP's rank hypocrisy and insincerity on the matter of tax compliance and revenue protection. It was only recently that a performance audit report from the Auditor General on Procurement at the University Hospital of the West Indies, UHWI, revealed repugnant and despicable procurement practices which had the effect of the consolidated fund, our public purse, being deprived of much needed revenue in favor of private companies. The UHWI's tax-exempt status, Mr. President, was utilized in favor of private entities, as reported by the Auditor General, for the acquisition of medical equipment and other supplies. At the center, we answer the question now, Miji. At the center of the tax fraud saga is a company identified by a media house that is the bane of the PNP's existence as being owned and operated by senior PNP official and first-term member of parliament, Mr. Dennis Gordon, with the entity being the Jackden Group of companies. Mr. President, what can go so? It would interest Julian Robinson, Mark Golding, and the other PNP members to know that, like charity, tax compliance and revenue protection begins at home. Start with the people in the mirror. As they sought to extract political mileage from the Auditor General report regarding UHWI procurement, the opposition PNP convened a press conference on January 29, 2026. Little did they know that the media was on top of their hypocrisy and had a leadership interrogation imperative, because while the PNP sought to focus attention on the reported procurement issues at the UHWI, the media focused attention on Mark Golding's actions, or should I say, lack thereof, given the hat he wears. And I'm not referring to the anti-badman cap the Prime Minister gifted him last week. I am referring to his position as PNP president and opposition leader vis-a-vis Dennis Gordon's position as his subordinate and one of the persons reportedly embroiled in the UHWI scandal. Can you imagine, Mr. President, even in opposition, the PNP find their way embroiled in scandals?
Can you imagine?
So they have not only had the Manchester Municipal Corporation scandal, they have not only had the St. Catherine Municipal Corporation scandal, they have had the KCMC hush money scandal, and they have now added the reported Dennis Gordon, Jackden Group of companies tax fraud scandal to their list of scandals, even while in opposition.
1 minute. Senator Brown.
I dare you
Senator
to come
Brown.
and force me to sit.
Senator Brown, come
You're
now.
a coward.
Senator Brown, come now.
Yeah. I rise on a point of order. But if that little imbecile is telling me to sit,
Come on. No, it's
I
okay.
want him to come and make me sit.
Come.
That's unparliamentary, I can't say that. You can't say
So, President,
Why can't they?
He needs to withdraw that language and description of
that
the member.
imbecile, that's what you want me to withdraw?
You cannot describe the
You want
member
me
like
to
that.
withdraw the imbecile?
Mr. President,
All right.
Mr.
I
President,
withdraw the imbecile. If Abka Fitzenley want me to sit, tell him to come and force it.
Go ahead. What's the point of order?
Understanding order. We are not to make improper motive about members of this chamber or the other chamber. The comments about MP Gordon, may I be allowed to make my point of order, sir?
The man has so fine. Why?
That standing order. And as much as I am prepared to withdraw the imbecile comment, then he should also withdraw the improper motive. So which is good.
Is that appropriate?
The only person who can get me to sit is the marshal. Not some loudmouth, bagger, two-mouthed boy from Nationwide.
Senator Brown, control yourself. All right. So hear this now.
Are you kidding me?
Hear this now. In order to have a certain amount of equanimity and fairness, if I were to rule that anything said in relation to the member of the lower house was offensive to the standing orders, it would really fly in the face of some of the most disgusting things that many persons on your side have said about the Honorable Prime Minister in this country. Right in this chamber, over the time, the most disgusting things. So what I'm going to do is just ask Senator Morgan. He has made this point just to move on.
That was the uppercut. Huh? Go again, Joshua.
Mr. President, what was intended to be a political point-scoring UHWI press conference backfired immensely on the PNP. It was a complete train wreck, not dissimilar to how history will record that now infamous Jeffrey Epstein-related Newsnight interview between Emily Maitlis of the then BBC, of the BBC at the time, and the then Prince Andrew of the United Kingdom. Like the then Prince Andrew of the UK, Mark Golding bobbed and weaved as he struggled to respond to the questions being put to him by the probing and incisive members of the media who were in attendance. Mr. President, in the face of very damning, credible and compelling evidence against Dennis Gordon, insofar as his Jack then group of companies, PNP President and Opposition Leader Mark Golding,
there's not even a court case. And the member is making remarks about a member in the other house that is disparaging, that is contrary to the standing order. And above all, much of what he said is untrue, is conducting a scurrilous campaign, and the Senate deserves better.
The Senate deserves better than you.
My point of order that is violating the improper motive and making disparaging remarks.
The President ruled a while ago.
And I'm making it again because you have repeated it. He has not moved on. And you all must do better. You must all do better.
He was just summarizing.
Senator Morgan, your time is running out, you know, and every time I'm not adding on any time, you know, so you need to just do what you're doing.
Mr. President. Mr. President. The PNP president and opposition leader has not taken action against the referenced member in respect of his parliamentary assignments. Let the records show, Mr. President, that again, we on this side are calling for the immediate removal of Mr. Dennis Gordon from Parliament's Public Accounts Committee, PAC, by opposition leader Mark Golding. You cannot be auditioning for the highest elected office in the land and be found wanting every time these tests of leadership and issues of moral turpitude arise. To Mr. Mark Golding, I say, sir, your purported commitment to integrity in public life and your call for increased tax compliance ring hollow. Indeed, they are undermined by your failure to act against the referenced member. Mr. President, the financial sector collapse of the 1990s, which many persons have come to refer to loosely as the FinSac debacle, is the PNP's most egregious transgression against the Jamaican people. The PNP is acutely aware that it is so, and they are absolutely embarrassed by it. It is not surprising in this context, Mr. President, to note the coordinated and concerted effort at revisionist history throughout the budget debate by PNP officials and their surrogates across traditional and social media. But, Mr. President, you know we are in the business of setting the record straight and mashing down the PNP's lies. The opposition PNP has sought to suggest that it was merely reckless and imprudent action on the part of bankers that caused the collapse of the financial sector in the 1990s. They are so barefaced, brazen, and revisionist as to try and paint FinSac as a good thing, the solution to the problem they posit. History, however, records that business operators and debtors were not afforded an opportunity to avert loss of their assets, which, in many instances, were made available to others for cents in the dollar, but they were denied the opportunity. They may seek to distort the facts and revise history as much as they want, but let it be known unequivocally that it was policy failure, the poor decisions of the then PNP government, exacerbated, of course, by imprudent financial sector operations, which resulted in the collapse of the financial system and the decimation of our productive sector. I use the word imprudent. Go and check with your ENT. In short, Mr. President, it was the then PNP government's premature liberalization of the foreign exchange market and the unsustainable and ill-advised high interest rate policy that primarily led to the financial sector collapse of the 1990s.
Morgan,
just a minute,
that's
Mr.
you.
President. Just a minute.
What you call a minute? That's you, you know.
That's the time allowed for stoppage, Mr. President.
Yeah, stop
a minute and a half, 90 seconds.
What?
90 seconds, Mr. President.
Yes.
Run 90 seconds on the clock, man.
Put 90 seconds on the clock, Jamal.
In their coordinated and preemptive bid to take the sting out of the wretched and incontrovertible historical transgression, FinSac, the PNP has set about deflecting and hoodwinking the Jamaican people, both inside and outside of the parliament. Release the FinSac report is their cry. Release the FinSac report is their refrain. However, Auntie Donna just said yes, but watch me now. This past Monday, Mr. President, the 23rd of March 2026, the election-scarred PNP president and opposition leader Mark Golding appeared on a YouTube program where he was interviewed by one of their social media operatives. The question was put to Mr. Mark Golding as to whether he would release the FinSAC Commission of Inquiry report if he were elected Prime Minister of Jamaica following the next general elections. Mr. President, this was Mark Golding's response, and I quote, "The FinSAC situation is difficult, Andre, because there is no report. There is no report to deliver. They never wrote it. They never completed their report," end quote. He later went on to say the following, Mr. President: "What Nigel Clark said he was going to do was establish a website and put all the materials, all the evidential material and so on that were generated by the process of that commission of inquiry." Now the question is, Mr. President, if Mark Golding knows, as the government has long asserted, that there is no FinSAC Commission of Inquiry report, why has he, like Julian Robinson and the other PNP members and supporters, been calling for the release of the quote-unquote FinSAC report? How can a report that doesn't exist be released? What can go so? Oh, what a tangled web they weave, Mr. President.
Thank you very much.
When at first we tried to deceive.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Marlon Morgan. As I would say, he was delivering it to them in no uncertain terms. That was a good presentation by Marlon. I need to show it him later on and big him up. Right. But these are the kind of presentation we have to see. Oh, somebody say I should try and find Senator Golding. Let me go find Senator Golding here. Senator Shireen Golding. That's not Shireen.
Many small businesses struggle to secure
Shireen.
the capital necessary to grow. Thank you, Mr. President.
That is something we come into, don't worry yourself. No, we come into it, don't worry yourself. Don't worry yourself, yes. This is not legal reform. It is formalizing exclusion.
Thank you. That was what was wrong.
Well, folks, I'm trying to get the Shireen Golding section of the presentation. No relation to Mark. Right, but we have to go around and point out them hypocrisy.
The beach policy. Senator Golden Campbell.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President.
Listen to Bruce, big data.
Mr. President, you know, I was sitting thinking, wondering whether or not my opposition colleagues understand the difference between hearing and listening. Hearing is that involuntary process where sounds are detected. Listening requires you to focus and analyze and understand and interpret what you're hearing. And that came into my mind, Mr. President, because the rhetoric that I've heard this afternoon seems so far from the budget presentations that the Minister of Finance and the Prime Minister gave, and certainly from the vision that was laid out and the numbers in that yellow book. So much so that I couldn't understand. I heard statements, and this was actually said, look back in Hansard. One of the opposition members actually said, hospitals have no beds. No beds. That was a statement, okay? Nor water for the patients. Now, I don't have a difficulty, Mr. President, when we come here and we raise challenges and concerns that our people may be experiencing. That is really one of our responsibilities in this chamber. But It does not serve our people for us to come here and simply because of political scoring, we make such extreme and untrue remarks that it does not assist us as a nation to really grapple with and analyze the problems that we are facing and come to consensus and solutions for our people. So I've been quite disappointed, Mr. President, in the approach that I've heard taken today. But I do want to congratulate my colleagues on the other side because they have been consistent about one thing. They've been cohesive in their extreme rhetoric, and they have been collectively completely disregarding actually the work that we saw in the House and the work that we're commenting on today through the Appropriations Act. That has been consistent. So for consistency, I give you an A. Mr. President, I want to be quick. I did not time my presentation. I'm not sure how long it is, but I am going to observe your rules as I usually try to. We are today, Mr. President, no doubt at a time when Jamaica is on a firmer economic foundation than it has been in decades. There's no amount of rhetoric that can deny that fact. The careful stewardship of our economy led by our Prime Minister and his team has yielded stability in our fiscal accounts, in our debt trajectory, and stability in our macroeconomic framework. But Mr. President, I'm going to attempt to give an honest view of how I have analyzed 2 points made in the House during the budget presentation and reflecting, Lambert, I never interrupt you, you know. Mr. President, stability, though achieved, is not the summit.
I'm not going to get involved in this because you refer to Senator Brown as Lambert, as if there was some special relationship between them.
There is a relationship, Mr. President.
Mr. Brown, Senator Brown, will you please allow the Senator?
I claim back my time, Mr. President. I claim back my time. Mr. President, stability is not the summit, it's the base camp. And the Prime Minister said it another way in his contribution in the House of Representatives when he said resilience is not a destination and that we must now move from resilience to resurgence. For too long, Mr. President, Jamaica has grappled with low productivity growth. And it's not rocket science. Productivity is the lifeblood of economic growth. It's not about, as Senator Gale says, working longer hours. It's about producing more value in the time that we're already working. And so, Mr. President, it was clear that the Prime Minister is seized with this and is seized with the fact that there needs to be significant improvement in our productivity for us to move from resilience to resurgence. Today, Mr. President, I want to speak directly to my public sector colleagues. And I say colleagues because I've had the privilege to work with many of them in dealing with disciplinary proceedings in the public sector as a member of disciplinary panels. I've represented small businesses who engage with the public sector, whether as bidders on government projects or as applicants seeking approvals for licenses and permits. And I've also worked in the service itself to support the delivery of government policy and programs. And of course, like everyone else, I have engaged with them as a citizen accessing government services. I've met many diligent, bright, and dedicated public servants, but I regret to say that the standards of work and the productivity levels across the service are...
Guys, may I say, whole heap of people are popping that's not following Chuck yet. Please, just press the follow button, tap the screen, you know, and welcome to the Chuck Stop. The Chuck Stop will never lead you astray because anywhere you go and come back, always remember that the Chuck Stop right here.
Consistent. Houston, we have a problem. And that problem must be acknowledged and confronted respectfully and in the interest of all concerned and ultimately our great nation. So my colleague across the aisle,
yes,
Senator Tomlinson, also recognizes the need for performance management framework. That's not new. It's something that we have been discussing within and outside of government for some time. Too often, Mr. President, the progress of a matter through the system relies on the diligence and the conscientiousness and the conscience of a...
Again, we are building a good community where you can come and you get information here. We are not here to give propaganda. We are not here to bring our country to the ground, but we are here to give you valuable information, both on the status of the country and on programs within the government that can benefit you and your family. That's what we're building here. That's what we're going to build over YouTube. So follow us here, follow us on YouTube. Welcome.
Particular public sector worker delivering the service rather than on systems, controls, and performance standards that enhance productivity and encourage efficiency. I share some actual examples when engaging with the public service system, Mr. President. In one case, an overseas company who came to Jamaica sought to invest by constructing an R&D facility to conduct research into some of our native plant materials. They required a permit from the Ministry of Health, and we wrote to inquire what was the process of application for that permit because it wasn't clear in the legislation. Several times we sent emails to follow up, and when we eventually got a return call or several attempts at contacting the public officer responsible, the officer and making making remarks to the officer that the response time had been lacking. The officer actually inquired of me what I thought was a reasonable amount of time before correspondence was responded to. At that point, we had waited about 4 to 5 weeks. When I said to her emails should be answered within 24 to 48 hours, it became obvious that she saw nothing untoward in answering queries 3, 4, 5 weeks later. In this example, Mr. President, the company became so frustrated with the undue delays that after putting almost $800,000 in the ground into the construction of the facility, projected to cost $2.4 million, they tore down the construction, sold the scrap for $25,000 and left Jamaica to set up facilities in another jurisdiction.
I hear that. I hear that. This is the same thing that Ambassador Marks was talking about. That because of the bureaucratic delays, Jamaica has lost out on many investment opportunities. Many. How is it now?
Mr. Say, Chuck, he said somebody was waiting and to start the business, and he just said, "You can't bother." You never hear him?
You can't bother and pack up and go somewhere else. It can't be the norm to respond to a simple email 4 weeks later, and you think it is okay. 4 weeks for an email? These cannot be the norm if we are to move to growth, if we are to move to the high-paying economy, if we are to move personal GDP to within 30, 40,000 in the next 5 years. These cannot be the norms. And this is what we want to change in our country. Service delivery, not just to overseas investors, but to the man on the street, must be improved. Service delivery across both public and private sector must be improved, and that is our chat. Now, there's no ministry of government, there's no minister, there's no politician but sits in the customer service area. No politician sit down there, sir. And when you're employed, you're not employed to sit around and farm food at yourself. You're employed to get a job done. If you're not getting the job done, then you're failing at your job. But these things cannot continue as the norm.
Another example, Mr. President, in the administration of the procurement process, and again, I want to be clear, this is not a political issue. It's a national issue, and it's something we have to talk about. A small business supplier of goods and services responds to a request for proposals from a ministry. The deadline for bid submissions passed and the bid validity period is about to expire. The ministry writes and asks the bidders to extend the bid validity period, but gives no reason why. The bidders, of course, feel compelled to agree because, after all, what is the option available to them? It's agree for the extension or remove themselves from the process. The ministry makes two other requests, in essence delaying the procurement process for an additional 3 months with no explanation as to why. I don't think, Mr. President, that I need to outline the impact on a small company of being in limbo because of unexplained delays by a procuring entity. Did they need additional time to assess the bid? Did people simply not engage the process of assessment in a timely way? We don't know. Mr. President, it is true that the conversation around productivity requires us to assess the tools that are provided for our public sector workers to deliver on their mandates efficiently. So when Prime Minister said in his contribution last week that it's not a judgment on our workers, but rather a diagnosis of our economic structures, I join him in that. But I go further, and I want to have an earnest conversation with my Jamaican family on the matter. I know as a business owner that part of ensuring productivity and efficiency is providing the tools to my team to do the work in the most optimal way. But I also know
That's Senator Shireen Golden, daughter of Bruce Golden.
That it requires that I inspire a thinking and an approach in my team members so that they become more invested in the success of their efforts, and so that they are themselves motivated to ensure that at all times they are maximizing their productivity and efficiency, and our clients are served well and served quickly. Mr. President, our people are industrious, our entrepreneurs are innovative, but we have to move them towards a system that does not constrain them, that does not constrain their potential. If we are being honest with ourselves, this is sometimes compounded with the individual approach of some public servants that fails to make the connection between their diligence and efficiency and successful outcomes for the Jamaican people. Mr. President, what I'm asking for is a national conversation, because while the government seeks to leverage the economic stability that we have achieved, we as citizens, as public sector workers, must also review our own approach to work and to the delivery of better outcomes for our people. I resist, Mr. President, the urge to make specific recommendations, because what I am hoping for today is really to deliver an impassioned plea to those responsible for the administration of our public services, from permanent secretaries to chief technical directors, to the lower levels of staff and the workers at the very bottom of the chain of command. Your productivity matters.
But Skyfall, I believe that most agencies have those KPIs, you know. But I think probably what we suffer from is a failure to enforce. They're there, but there are no consequences for you to violate them, and that is the problem.
Your diligence matters. And as Senator Duncan said earlier, these are matters that we must address as a nation in an unbiased and sober way. If we are to realize the vision articulated by the Prime Minister, we must embed productivity at the center of our economic strategy, but we must own it personally. We, every single one of us, not just government, every single one of us.
That's where it needs to go, Skyfall.
Mr. President, I turn to the issue of growth and empowerment of the micro, small, and medium enterprises, our MSMEs, and one of my favorite groups of business people. These enterprises are the backbone of our economy. They represent the entrepreneurial spirit of our people They create jobs, they sustain families, and they drive community-level development. Yet, despite their importance, they continue to face significant challenges. Access to finance remains a persistent hurdle. Many small businesses struggle to secure the capital necessary to grow. It is for this reason, Mr. President, that I laud the government's efforts to support the recovery of the MSME community through the DBJ by providing $3 billion for the Development Bank of Jamaica's M5 Business Recovery Program, intended to accelerate economic recovery and strengthen resilience. The implementation of the public procurement set-asides framework so that portions of government procurement can be reserved for Jamaican suppliers, especially micro-enterprises with revenues under 15 million and small enterprises with revenues between 15 million and 75 million, is a significant step in the right direction. I celebrate too, Mr. President, the government's efforts to not just set aside the portion of government procurement for MSMEs, and this is significant, but also to work with them to help them to understand compliance and how to compete for government contracts. Mr. President, just yesterday, I know Senator Hill may have mentioned it, and if he didn't, I'm sure he will. There was a public meeting held to prepare entrepreneurs for government contracting, including how to qualify, register, and comply with the protocols established under the procurement system. Mr. President, the government is actively pursuing the kinds of things that will enhance the growth of MSMEs and ultimately our economy. Mr. President, these initiatives announced in the budget presentation of the Finance Minister demonstrate the government's seriousness about inclusive growth and its intentionality about MSME development. I wish, therefore, to commend for the consideration of my Minister of Finance one approach that I think might support the ability of MSMEs to access procurement contracts and mitigate against the difficulties experienced by MSMEs in accessing finance. Mr. President, in many cases, government procurement contracts require that companies bidding on those projects commit 10% of the value of the contract as a performance security. And for the benefit of those who don't know what a performance security is, I never assume, I'm just speaking to the people in this room. Performance security is a financial guarantee submitted by the winning bidder to ensure they fulfill their contractual obligations. It acts as a safety net against contractor default, insolvency, or failure to perform. And while it provides a safety net to the government procuring entity, it can also be burdensome and limit the ability of MSMEs to access government projects. So in relation to the set-aside for MSMEs, and I'm specifically talking now about MSMEs, I want to submit for consideration an adjustment in the requirement for MSMEs to provide performance security. It's something that I acknowledge must be considered very carefully, Mr. President. It can't be right across the board in every circumstance, because it does, in fact, lower the risk of bidders when they default. So what I am suggesting, Mr. President, is that a review of those projects where the risk of default is low, where the performance standards of the MSME players in the particular industry are high, that we take a look at whether or not that requirement can be adjusted, since the risk of default in certain industries would be lower. I would not, for example, suggest that this is an initiative that is appropriate for road projects and road constructions, because the standards of performance in that industry have been notoriously inconsistent. And we have heard Minister Morgan on a number of occasions talking about the default of some contractors and what has been put in place to recover from them when they have not constructed the road properly. However, where appropriate, when the risk analysis is done, it could go a far way to ensuring the likelihood that MSMEs are able to take advantage of the set-aside framework. whether the requirement for performance security is removed, lowered, or adjusted for delivery over a period of time during the duration of the contract are some of the options.
Hold on there, guys. Make 2 minutes. Yes, my people. That was sharing Golden. But as I said, as a country going forward, we have to improve service delivery right across. And I am happy that the government that I support is moving in that direction right now, where we see that service delivery is something that have to be dealt with, and they're doing it. Shika, Angie, I have to make a run now. My little princess required a little talking time, and I know say me is a good father, so when it's her bedtime, so I have to go link her up and make a little talk before bedtime. So people, see you here tomorrow at 12 o'clock.
Oh my.